Good day and greetings. This is Dr. Charles Cotter. I'd like to welcome you to episode 2 of my brand new series, HRM Strategic Performance Advisor. The focus of episode 2 is to look at data-driven decision making, but also as HR professionals, how do we cultivate an evidence-based human resources management philosophy? You'll recall from episode 1 where we focused on the strategic HRM objectives, the best practice criteria and guidelines, but also the role and contribution of HR during this business unusual employment landscape, that I did make the point that from our research, I found in particular in Southern, East and West Africa, that to a large extent African HRM practices tend to be very transactional, operating in level 2 of strategic maturity, and therefore the purpose of this online video series is to empower HR professionals to graduate to a level 4 of strategic maturity. In other words, become a strategic performance advisor. You'll also see when you look at episode 2, and I hope you find some value from this particular episode, is that we're going to focus on these 7 transformational points which collectively constitute evidence-based human resources management. And you'll see one of them, which I'd like to repeat later on, is of course that human resources management practices, processes, and decisions should transform from intuition to intelligence.
The fifth criteria of strategic HRM is we need to become a lot more data-driven with our decision-making in particular, and we also need to become more evidence-based. So when I talk about being data-driven and evidence-based, maybe the best way of capturing and amplifying that is a quote, just pre-COVID-19, infusing the HRM architecture with data-driven decision-making processes and evidence-based human resources management philosophy throughout the HR value chain to generate meaningful business intelligence through strategic and business relevant HR metrics and also predictive analytics. Certainly we're going to talk about that in detail tomorrow morning, are the critical success factors to transform the current HRM practices to being a future-focused strategic performance advisor operating model. So the key concepts here are data-driven decision-making. So just critically evaluate yourself in that regard, and also having an evidence-based human resources management philosophy. And if you ask me to qualify and to describe, what do I mean by evidence-based? I'm suggesting, and I'm just going to run through it very quickly, I'm going to suggest that there are 3 pivotal points of change. First of all, in HR, we've got to go from feelings to facts, number 1. Number 2, in HR, we've got to go from being anecdotal to being analytical. Number 3, we've got to go from hindsight to insight to foresight. So strategy 101 is always, I think Cornelius, you said it best, it's always future focused. We've got to, the strategic window that we look through, this landscape, this talent management and HR landscape is 3 to 5 years. We've got to go from being backward looking to looking at what's on your dashboard right now, your scorecards, but also then going to foresight, anticipating the future. This is why we're saying we've got to start going from diagnostic and descriptive analytics to predictive, but also prescriptive analytics. So that for me is a very important point of change. I said it earlier on with my quote, we've got to go from HR being perceived as a business tributary, support function, administrative function, to the mainstreaming of HR. We've got to go from intuition, number 5, to intelligence. We already said my key role there is business intelligence, where we can harmonize artificial business, but also human intelligence. Number 6, we've got to go from best practice, which I think you'll agree with me is nothing more than imitation, to best fit. So best fit, where we can internalize it, we can customize it, we can tailor make it, we can localize it. Again, strategy 101, think global, act local, but where we harness innovation. And you'll agree with me, innovation is the number 1 driver of organizational transformation, and that's the currency that you need to be trading in. I think the 2 primary currencies that you need to be trading in as a strategic performance advisor, number 1, business intelligence, and number 2, innovation. And when you can start harnessing innovation, you're then able to convert best fit into next practice. So you go from imitation to internalization to innovation. I think it's very important. And this is probably going to break your hearts, but this is number 7. We've got to transform HR from predominantly being a cost center to HR becoming a profit center. And this is why we'll see tomorrow when you start looking at some of your metrics. We've got to be business and financially inclined. So you've got to start looking at metrics like human capital return and investment, human capital value add, etc. But nevertheless, collectively, these seven. So if you ask me to define evidence-based human resources management philosophy, these are the seven checkpoints that we need to comply with. So critically evaluate yourself. Do we have data-driven decision-making? And do we have an evidence-based human resources management philosophy? Do we tick off all seven of those boxes? I think it's very important.
I did make the point earlier on that I strongly believe that innovation is the currency of modern business management and the most expedient accelerator of organizational transformation. HRM is not exempt and immune from this, and I certainly, as I said also previously, I do believe that in order for us to transition from best practice to best fit and ultimately to next practice, we really need to start harnessing and leveraging innovation as the catapult, as a catalyst of success in ultimately graduating to a level 4 strategic maturity. In other words, a strategic performance advisor. At this point, I'd like to say thank you for your time investment in viewing this very short video clip, which focused on data-driven decision-making, but also evidence-based human resources management philosophy. I'd like to encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube learning channel. Also, if you enjoyed this video clip, please click on the like button. Please click on the notify button to be alerted of upcoming episodes. In fact, episode 3, which will be published tomorrow, is then going to focus on the 10 business executive expectations of the role of strategic performance advisors. In this post-COVID-19 talent management era, I think you'll find some significant value from that. And also, I've also shared my social media contact details. So you'll find me very active on LinkedIn and Twitter, but also Facebook. And you're welcome to connect or follow. I'll certainly reciprocate. And also, if you have any questions or comments, please post that in the comment section. I really appreciate your support. This is Dr. Charles Cotter signing out, and I look forward to future engagement with the remainder of the series, Strategic Performance Advisor.